It begins not in glory, not in triumph, but in the silence of defeat. A man stares at the wreckage of his dreams. The company he built collapses. The woman he loved walks away. The opportunity he counted on vanishes overnight. Failure, that ugly, relentless visitor that knocks on every door. Some try to hide from it. Others try to bargain with it. But sooner or later, it comes for us all. And here's the harsh truth. Most people don't survive it. Not physically. They keep breathing, but spiritually, mentally, emotionally, they collapse. Like glass hitting stone, they shatter. Why? Because when failure strikes, the fragile think it means the end. They say, I failed once, so I am a failure. My dream collapsed, so my life is over. She left me, so I am unworthy. Failure whispers a lie, and most people believe it. The human problem, fragility in the face of failure. Look around you. Think of the people you've known who have fallen, a friend who lost a job and never recovered, a relative who faced heartbreak and drowned in bitterness, a colleague who tried one business, failed, and never dared again. The tragedy isn't their failure. The tragedy is that they let failure define them. Psychologists today call it cognitive distortion. The brain exaggerates, twists, and multiplies pain until it becomes unbearable. One rejection, I'll never be loved. One loss, I'll never succeed. One betrayal, I can never trust again. This is the fragile human mind, broken not by the weight of the world, but by the weight of its own illusions. Seneca, nearly 2,000 years ago, warned us about this weakness. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Failure itself doesn't destroy you. It's the story you tell yourself about failure that does. The Stoic lens, why warriors don't break. Now imagine standing in the shoes of the ancient Stoics. Epictetus, born a slave, beaten until his legs snapped. Did he call himself broken? Number. He said, you may chain my body, but not even Zeus has power over my will. Marcus Aurelius, emperor of Rome, carrying the burden of plague, betrayal, and war. Did he call himself cursed? Number. He whispered, look well into yourself. There is a source of strength which will always spring up if you will always look. Seneca, ordered to take his own life by his own student Nero. Did he beg? Did he despair? Number. He faced death calmly, turning his final moments into a lesson for his friends. Do you see the difference? Where others collapse under failure, the Stoics transform it. Where others see an ending, Stoics see a beginning. Where others see ashes, Stoics see the spark of a new fire. The formula revealed, the seed of transformation. So what is this Stoic formula? The secret that transforms failures into fuel? It begins with a shift of sight, not the eyes, but the mind. The Stoic does not ask, why did this happen to me? He asks, how can this serve me? Because failure is not the end. Failure is raw material. It is iron waiting to be forged. It is wood waiting to be burned into fire. Marcus Aurelius wrote, a blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it. This is the Stoic formula. Take what life throws at you, failure, betrayal, rejection, and burn it into fuel. The weak collapse under it. The Stoic grows stronger because of it. The first step, perception. The very first step in the Stoic formula is perception. You cannot control what happened, but you can control how you see it. To the fragile, failure is poison. To the Stoic, failure is medicine. Two men lose their job. One says, I'm worthless. The other says, this is my training, my chance to rebuild stronger. Two women face heartbreak. One says, "Love will never come again." The other says, "Now I am free to become who I was meant to be." Same event, different perception, different destiny. This is the battlefield of failure, and perception is the first weapon. So here is the truth most people never want to face. Failure is not your enemy. Failure is your forge. Every rejection, every collapse, every betrayal, all of it is firewood. But only if you choose to see it that way. The fragile let failure burn them down. The Stoic warrior lets failure burn him into something unbreakable. And this is only the beginning. Because the formula has more steps, more weapons, more secrets that can transform even your greatest collapse into your greatest power. The Stoics did not avoid failure, they mastered it. And in mastering it, they became unshakable. The battlefield has been set. You've seen it yourself. Failure strikes, and the fragile crumble. But the Stoic warrior, he doesn't collapse. He redirects. Why? Because he understands the next law of the Stoic formula. Control only what is yours. Burn the rest. The tug of war that breaks most people. When failure hits, most people waste their strength in a hopeless tug of war. They replay conversations that cannot be undone. They rage at people they cannot control. They obsess over outcomes they never had power over in the first place. It's like trying to wrestle a storm. The harder they pull, the weaker they become. Epictetus said it with brutal clarity. Some things are up to us and some things are not. This is the second step of the Stoic formula, the division of control. Take a page, draw two columns. Column 1, what is mine? Column 2, what is not mine? Your effort, yours. Your discipline, yours. Your choices, always yours. Other people's opinions, not yours. The economy, not yours. The past, never yours. Now here is where the fragile mind fails. They spend all their energy on column 2. They fight ghosts. They try to bend reality, and reality does not bend. The Stoic warrior instead guards column 1 like sacred ground. Every action, every thought, every effort is directed here. And when you stop scattering your energy into the impossible, you suddenly have strength for the possible. The fire of redirection. Marcus Aurelius faced wars he could not prevent, plagues he could not cure, betrayals he could not erase. But every dawn he reminded himself, at dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I am rising to do the work of a human being. Not to control the uncontrollable, but to master what was his alone, his thoughts, his choices, his duty. This is why failure fuels the Stoic instead of breaking him. When the fragile man loses, he collapses under the weight of what was never his to command. When the Stoic loses, he immediately redirects, what can I do right now with what is mine? That is control. That is freedom. The paradox of power. Here's the paradox. The moment you stop trying to control everything, you gain true power. Think of fire. Throw sticks, stones, trash, or gold. The fire does not complain. It does not resist. It simply consumes, transforms, and burns brighter. This is the Stoic's mind. He doesn't waste himself fighting the storm. He becomes the fire that makes use of whatever the storm throws his way. Epictetus would say, you may fetter my leg, but not even Zeus himself can overpower my will. Do you feel the shift? The fragile break because they tie their worth to the uncontrollable. The Stoic cannot be broken because his worth is anchored only to what he owns, his choices. Modern mirror, fragile versus Stoic. Fragile mind, I failed the exam. I'm stupid. I'm done, Stoic mind. I failed the exam. What is mine? Effort, study, focus. I'll master it next time. Fragile mind. She rejected me. I'll never be loved, Stoic mind. She rejected me. What is mine? My virtue, my growth, my path. Let her go. Fragile mind. My business collapsed. I'm ruined. Stoic mind. My business collapsed. What is mine? My courage, my persistence, my creativity. Time to rebuild. Same storm. One collapses, one rises. The weapon of release. Seneca wrote, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality." The Stoic weapon then is release. Release what was never yours. Release what you cannot command. This release is not weakness. It is the sharpening of the blade. Because when you cut away what isn't yours, you suddenly discover how much power you actually have. So here we stand, deeper into the Stoic formula. Step 1 was perception. To see failure not as the end, but as material. Step 2 is control. To release what isn't yours and redirect all energy into what is. This is the forge. This is where failures stop being chains and start being fuel. Because once you focus on what is truly yours, you cannot be broken by what is not. And this takes us to the next weapon in the Stoic arsenal, action. Where thought becomes deed and fuel becomes flame. We have entered the crucible. The Stoic has changed his vision. He no longer sees failure as death, but as raw material. He has shifted his energy, no longer wasting it on what cannot be controlled, but focusing it entirely on what is his. Now comes the hardest step, the step where fragile souls collapse, the step that separates the dreamers from the doers. Why? Action is the true divider. The fragile man reads books on success. He listens to podcasts. He nods in agreement. He says, "Yes, that's true." And then he does nothing. The Stoic warrior, he knows words are cheap. Epictetus struck the blow when he said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." The Stoics did not spend their lives writing tweets about virtue. They lived it in war, in plague, in poverty, in betrayal. Their philosophy was written in action, not ink. Marcus Aurelius could have written endlessly about duty. Instead, he carried it every single morning when he rose to lead Rome's armies in freezing Germanic forests. Seneca could have told others to accept death bravely. Instead, he faced his own ordered suicide with serenity, teaching until his last breath. Epictetus could have lamented his slavery. Instead, he turned his classroom into a training ground for the soul. The battle of the alarm clock action does not begin in grand wars. It begins in the quiet battle you fight every morning. The alarm rings. Comfort whispers, 5 more minutes. But Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself at dawn. At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, "I am rising to do the work of a human being." This is not about waking up. It is about rebirth. Each morning, the fragile return to their old selves. The Stoic rises anew, choosing again to fight, to build, to act. Every day you are given the chance to prove who you are. The fragile wasted. The Stoic acts. Procrastination versus momentum. Procrastination is the poison of the fragile mind. It whispers, tomorrow, next week, someday, but tomorrow never comes. And the fragile waste their lives waiting for the perfect moment. The Stoic warrior knows the perfect moment is now. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good. When failure hits, procrastination kills more dreams than the failure itself. The Stoic, instead, moves immediately. Lost a deal? Make the next call. Failed an exam? Open the book again. Heart broken? Take the next step forward, not backward. Action is the antidote to despair. The paradox of energy. Here is where fragile souls get it wrong. They think, I will act when I feel motivated. But motivation is a liar. It shows up late. It disappears when needed most. The Stoic knew the truth. Action creates energy. When you act, even in small steps, you generate momentum. When you procrastinate, you drain yourself. Think of exercise. The fragile wait until they feel like it. They almost never do. The Stoic puts on his shoes, steps outside, and runs. Within minutes, the energy comes. This is the paradox. Waiting kills. Acting fuels. Duty above desire. Marcus did not always want to lead. Seneca did not always want to endure. You will not always want to study, to build, to persist. But the Stoic answer is simple. Duty, not desire. Epictetus taught, don't hope events will turn out the way you want. Welcome events in whichever way they happen. This is the path to peace. This does not mean passivity. It means when the task is before you, you do it. Not because you want to, but because it is your duty as a human being to rise, to act, to serve. The warrior's sword. The Stoic warrior sharpens his sword every single day, sometimes literally, sometimes metaphorically. It might be hours of reading, it might be journaling, it might be enduring hardship willingly, fasting, cold, discomfort, to train himself for life's blows. He knows this. If you do not sharpen the sword daily, you will not be ready when battle comes. The fragile man only lifts his weapon when crisis hits, and by then, it's too late. The Stoic trains daily in small, consistent actions so that when the storm comes, he does not break. Modern examples of Stoic action. Fragile. Scrolls social media after failure, drowning in distraction. Stoic. Journals the lesson, then takes the next step forward. Fragile. Eats to numb pain. Stoic. Fasts, reminding himself he owns his desires, not the other way around. Fragile. Blames others. Stoic. Takes one action that proves responsibility. Fragile. Waits to feel ready. Stoic. Acts now. Trusting readiness will grow from the act itself. Closing the third step. Here is the third key of the Stoic formula. Failure fuels action. The fragile turn failure into paralysis. The Stoic turns failure into momentum. He does not speak of change. He does not daydream about change. He acts quietly, relentlessly, daily. And with every act, the fire grows brighter. Because in the end, philosophy that is not lived is no philosophy at all. The Stoics understood this. Don't wait, don't whine, don't wish, do. The fragile man sees failure as ashes. The Stoic warrior sees failure as firewood. One collapses in despair. The other bends, picks up the broken pieces of his life, and throws them into the flames of growth. How? Not with vague motivation, not with empty affirmations, but with tools, daily practices the Stoics carved into their lives like weapons forged in iron. Let's step into the arsenal. The battlefield of life is filled with illusions. Fragile men fight ghosts, the stock market, the weather, the opinions of strangers. They exhaust themselves wrestling storms they cannot stop. The Stoic warrior carries a sharper blade, the dichotomy of control. Epictetus said, some things are up to us and some things are not. Write it, memorize it, live it. What is in my control? My effort, my choices, my words, my discipline. What is not in my control? The past, the weather, the outcome, the opinions of others. Every morning, draw 2 columns, mine, not mine. Then act only on the first column, guard it like sacred ground, And the second, burn it. Literally, shred it, torch it, watch it turn to smoke. Because when you destroy what isn't yours, you free energy for what is. This is not symbolic. It is survival. It is how a fragile man drowns in failure while the Stoic sails calmly through. The fragile hide from pain. They avoid it, numb it, pretend it does not exist. The Stoic warrior, he faces it before it arrives. This is premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. Seneca advised, he robs present ills of their power who has perceived their coming beforehand. Close your eyes. Imagine losing your job. Imagine your closest friend betraying you. Imagine the roof over your head gone. Not to depress yourself, to awaken yourself. Because when you open your eyes, the job you still have is now precious. The family beside you becomes priceless. The roof above your head becomes a temple. Fragile men collapse when pain comes. The Stoic warrior has already rehearsed it. He has already trained for the blow, and so he stands unbroken. The fragile wake up and scroll. Their first act is slavery to the screen. The Stoic rises to reflection. Marcus Aurelius began his day not with distraction, but with duty. At dawn, when you have trouble getting up, tell yourself, I must go to work as a human being. This was not about work. It was about rebirth. Each morning is nature whispering, you have one more chance. Who will you be today? Your practice, write who you were yesterday. Write who you choose to be today. Write one action that proves it. Fragile men let mornings slip into sameness. The Stoic warrior makes every dawn a resurrection. Here is the weapon that terrifies fate itself. Amor fati. A blazing fire takes every log, every scrap of wood, and burns brighter. So too the Stoic warrior takes every obstacle and whispers, this is fuel. Lost a friend? This is fuel for clarity. Lost a fortune? This is fuel for strength. Lost your path. This is fuel for redirection. Marcus Aurelius declared, a blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it. Fragile men cry, why me? The Stoic answers, because this is my training. This is my test, and I choose it. The fragile live as if they are immortal. They waste years as if they own centuries. The Stoic warrior remembers, you could leave life right now. This is not morbid, it is motivation. At night, imagine your deathbed. Ask, if I died today, what would they say? He had potential, but never used it. She was kind, but forgettable. Or, he lived with fire. He left nothing undone. The fragile fear death. The Stoic uses it as a compass. For when you remember you must die, you finally learn how to live. The fragile collapse into sleep with noise, TV, gossip, distraction. The Stoic closes his day with silence. Epictetus advised his students, each night, examine your actions. Where did I fail? Where did I succeed? What is left to be done? This reflection turns each failure into tomorrow's wisdom. It prevents relapse into the old self. It sharpens the blade daily. The fragile repeat mistakes endlessly. The Stoic warrior corrects them before they root. This is the arsenal of the Stoic warrior. The dichotomy of control, cut illusions. Negative visualization, train for pain. Morning rebirth, resurrect daily. Amor fati, use everything. Memento mori, remember the urgency. Evening reflection, sharpen the sword. These are not abstract, they are rituals. Daily disciplines that transform failure into fuel. The fragile break because they live unarmed. The Stoic warrior endures because he trains daily, relentlessly, fiercely. And in this training, failure becomes not a grave, but a forge. because in the end, what breaks the fragile builds the unbreakable. Theory inspires, but stories transform. And the Stoics knew this. Wisdom is not complete until it lives in flesh and blood. So let us walk through the lives of those who did not just speak Stoicism, they embodied it. Men who faced devastation, betrayal, humiliation, loss, and yet rose unbroken. Imagine this. You are born into slavery. Your master is cruel. One day, in rage, he twists your leg until it breaks, leaving you crippled for life. Most men would collapse. Most would sink into despair, bitterness, self-pity. But Epictetus? He smiled through the pain. He said, "You may chain my leg, but not my will." He could not control his chains, but he could control his mind. This crippled slave became one of the most powerful teachers in history. Kings, warriors, and emperors would later read his words. And his message was simple. Freedom is not given, it is chosen. His entire life was proof that failure, pain, and humiliation do not destroy the man who refuses to let them. Now picture the other extreme, not a slave, but the most powerful man in the world, the Emperor of Rome. Marcus Aurelius ruled armies, wealth, and nations. Yet fate tested him harder than most. He lost children to disease. He endured betrayal from friends and generals. He fought endless wars on the frontiers, and through it all, he carried the crushing loneliness of command. The fragile emperor would have drowned in wine and luxury, but Marcus? He wrote every night in his journal, whispering reminders to himself, "Do not waste what remains of your life in speculation. Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself. Turn obstacles into action." For Marcus, every failure was training. Every betrayal was firewood. Every heartbreak was fuel. The most powerful man alive showed us power does not protect you from pain, but Stoicism protects you from breaking under it. Seneca was no stranger to wealth, politics, and enemies. He served emperors, survived exile, and faced constant accusations. And when the tyrant Nero ordered him to die, Seneca did not beg. He did not curse fate. He opened his veins calmly, speaking philosophy to his friends, even as life drained from him. Imagine that level of composure. Imagine teaching serenity while your own blood runs across the floor. That is Stoic strength. Failure did not silence him. It made his final lesson eternal. A man's power lies in how he faces the unavoidable. The Roman arenas were filled with men who faced certain death. Most collapsed in terror. But the Stoic-trained gladiator entered calmly, whispering, "If it is to be today, then let it be today." The enemy's blade may kill the body, but fear kills the soul long before steel ever touches it. The Stoic warrior knew, if death is certain, meet it with dignity. If life continues, meet it with courage. Stoicism did not die with Rome. It lives in soldiers, leaders, and ordinary people who turn failure into fuel every single day. The soldier in war. A young soldier loses his brothers in combat. The fragile breaks. The Stoic soldier writes their names on his armor and whispers, "Their sacrifice will not be wasted." Pain becomes duty. Failure becomes fire. The entrepreneur facing ruin. A modern builder loses everything: business, savings, reputation. The fragile man hides in shame. The Stoic says, "This is my training. I will rebuild stronger." And when he rises again, the fire of failure is the very fuel of his success. The parent who loses a father loses his child. The fragile man dies with him. But the Stoic whispers through tears, "This pain is unbearable, but I will bear it." And he dedicates his life to serving others, turning personal tragedy into light for the world. From the slave to the emperor, from the battlefield of Rome to the boardrooms of today, one truth echoes across time. The fragile are destroyed by failure. The Stoic are reforged by it. Epictetus lost freedom. Marcus lost children. Seneca lost his life. Yet their wisdom outlives empires, because they did not run from failure. They threw it into the fire, and the fire made them unbreakable. The world has always been divided into two kinds of people: those who break when life strikes, and those who burn brighter when the fire rises. This is not just philosophy. This is a battlefield. Every day you step into it, every failure, every insult, every loss, you are being tested. And your response decides, are you fragile or are you stoic? The fragile man faces rejection and collapses. He whispers, "Why me?" He turns pain into excuses. He clings to comfort like a drowning man to driftwood. One insult shatters his confidence. One failure defines his identity. One storm, and he is gone. The fragile live as prisoners, prisoners of emotion, prisoners of craving, prisoners of fear. They believe freedom is found in avoiding pain. But avoidance is not freedom. It is surrender. Now imagine the Stoic. The same insult lands, the same failure comes, the same storm rages. But his response is different. He whispers, "This is fuel." He takes the punch and sharpens his resolve. He takes the betrayal and learns loyalty's true value. He takes the loss and finds strength in what remains. Where the fragile man breaks, the Stoic bends. Where the fragile man collapses, the Stoic rises. Where the fragile man curses fate, the Stoic whispers, "Amor fati." The fragile flee discomfort. The Stoic seeks it because he knows strength does not grow in comfort. It grows in fire. Picture this. The fragile scrolls endlessly, wasting nights. The Stoic journals by candlelight, training the mind. The fragile drowns in wine after failure. The Stoic runs at dawn, body fueled by discipline. The fragile rages when insulted. The Stoic smiles, saying, "Your words are yours, not mine." The fragile hides from pain. The Stoic embraces pain, whispers, "Teach me." Every choice widens the gap. Every reaction sculpts identity. Every moment, fragile or Stoic, decides who you are becoming. There is an ancient Stoic truth. A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything thrown into it. Throw fear into the fragile, and it smothers him. Throw fear into the Stoic, and he grows fearless. Throw failure into the fragile, and he quits. Throw failure into the Stoic, and he becomes unstoppable. Throw death into the fragile, and he trembles. Throw death into the Stoic, and he whispers, "Memento mori." Here's the truth you cannot escape. You will be tested by insult, by failure, by betrayal, by loss. The fragile man will always blame. The Stoic will always rise. So when the storm comes, and it will come, ask yourself, will I break or will I burn brighter? Every warrior needs a code. Every fighter needs a battle plan. And you, if you wish to walk the Stoic path, if you wish to rise above fragility, if you wish to turn every failure into fuel, you need your blueprint. This is not theory. This is training. This is practice. This is how you carve yourself into an unbreakable Stoic warrior. Step 1. Morning battle. Win the dawn. The fragile man begins his day by surrender. He reaches for his phone. He scrolls. He reacts. He obeys chaos. The Stoic warrior begins by conquering himself. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, 'I am rising to do the work of a human being.' Your first victory is over comfort. Rise when you don't want to. Write what is in your control today and what is not. Promise yourself, I will master the first. I will release the second. Every morning, you sharpen the sword of your mind. Step 2. Daily discomfort. Train and fire Seneca. Trained by living in rough clothes, eating simple food, whispering, "Is this the condition I feared?" Why? Because if you practice hardship, hardship loses its bite. Your discomfort training doesn't need to be extreme. Take a cold shower. Delay your cravings. Walk instead of driving. Fast for a few hours. Every chosen discomfort inoculates you. It turns fragility into resilience. It builds invisible armor. Step 3. Midday. Reflection. The General's Review. Epictetus demanded, examine your day line by line. You are not drifting through life. You are commanding it. At midday, pause. Ask, where have I been weak today? Where have I been strong? How can I fight better this afternoon? Most people stumble blindly. The Stoic corrects course in real time. Step 4. Transform failure into fuel. Here is the heart of the Stoic formula. Failure is not defeat. Failure is material. Failure is wood for the fire. Marcus wrote, a blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it. So when you fail, do not run. Stand still. Whisper, this is fuel. Ask, what lesson does this give me? What strength does this demand from me? How can I rise sharper than before? The fragile fear failure. The Stoic feeds on it. Step 5. Evening review. Sharpen the sword. At night, the Stoic warrior does not collapse into sleep. He reviews the battlefield of his day. Epictetus advised his students, when the light has been taken away, examine your entire day. Go back over what you've done and said. Hide nothing from yourself. Do not spare yourself. Ask yourself, where did I fall today? Where did I conquer? What will I train tomorrow? This is the sharpening of the soul. Every evening, you carve yourself stronger. Step 6. Amor fati. Love your fate. You cannot control the storm. You cannot control betrayal. You cannot control death. But you can love it. You can whisper, Amor fati. I love whatever fate brings me. Because fate is not your enemy. Fate is your forge. Every strike against you is shaping you. Every storm is fuel. Every loss is training. When you embrace fate, fate loses its power to break you. Step 7. Serve a greater cause. The final step, the ultimate strength, the fragile live for themselves. And because of that, they break easily. The Stoic lives for more. For justice, for duty, for family, for humanity. Marcus Aurelius said, what is your profession? To be a good man. When you fight for more than yourself, you become unstoppable. Because no enemy can defeat a warrior who does not fight only for his own survival, but for a cause larger than death. The Stoic warrior is not unbreakable because the world spares him. The world strikes him harder than anyone. He is unbreakable because he chooses to be. He wins the morning. He trains in discomfort. He reflects with discipline. He turns failure into fire. He sharpens himself each night. He embraces fate. He serves a greater cause. This is the blueprint. This is the path. This is how you rise when others collapse. So the next time failure strikes, betrayal cuts, loss burn, remember this. You are not fragile. You are not weak. You are fire, and the Stoic warrior does not break. He rises again and again and again